Okay. Hey, Scott, we're live now.
All right, here we go.
So, for those of you that are watching this video on the Illinois Grape Growers Facebook page, my name is Lisa Ellis, and I'm the Executive Director for the State Association. And I asked Scott Albert from Kite Hill Vineyards to join me for a chat about wine. And I call this segment Let's Talk Turkey. Scott, what do you think about that?
I think that's good because we are coming up on Thanksgiving here, and it's really easy to daydream about all the different side dishes and whatever kind of foods you're going to have. But one nice thing to think about ahead of time too is what kind of wines might pair with those things. And I think this is a great time to talk about that.
Right, and you and I were talking before we started this video that our Thanksgiving is going to look a lot different this year. You mentioned that you normally cook for a lot of people, and you're not going to be doing that this time around.
Yeah, unfortunately, with our current situation here in 2020, it's not a good idea to have quite the amount of people I usually have over at our house, and because of that, we're going to miss out on some things, but I think it gives us an opportunity to try some new things and see what's going to work for us this year. So,
right, and I
we'll
was
see.
thinking, I mean, we always have wine at our holiday gatherings too, and no matter where your family is or your friends that you normally spend the holidays with, a lot of people are turning to Facebook and doing, Facebook video groups or Facebook lives with their friends and family, or using their what is it, an Echo Show, Zoom, of course, all kinds of different things. So one easy way for people to connect and experience the same thing without everyone having to cook, the same 10 dishes because we've got to get everybody's favorites in there. One way to connect is with wine. Everybody can drink the same wine or the same kind of wine with their meal. And I imagine there's going to be a lot of video connections happening over that weekend. So we just thought that might be nice service for us to provide to people, just some ideas for those gatherings. So I think you mentioned that you had pulled some wine to talk about.
Yeah. Do we want to just talk about what's going to pair well with some things for Thanksgiving? I think we have our in the state of Illinois, our signature wine is rosé, which is pink wine made from red grapes typically. And so a lot of our Illinois wineries produce rosé, and that's a style of wine that generally is very, very versatile as far as what types of food it goes well with. And I can think that certain rosés could pair with just about any dish you have with Thanksgiving, and it's usually really a fan favorite wine too. So you don't usually have to worry about not having the wine that your certain aunt or uncle maybe wouldn't want to drink, because rosé is approachable for everybody. So.
Right, and I'm glad you brought up the signature series because we're different in Illinois. There's such a difference in the grapes that can be grown in the northern part of the state versus the southern, and that's one thing that our leadership decided many years ago was we needed to find a style that could be made north to south, west to east, and could be made with any grape. And I think we were a little bit ahead of the rosé game, and you guys have all been learning how to make a French style dry rosé. One of the reasons why I asked you to join me also is because I was thinking, because I don't know as much as you, I was thinking that the opportunity to be marketing rosés was seasonal. And you mentioned to me that rosé is your favorite wine and you drink it year round, and you can't, you told me it goes with everything. And that was eye-opening for me, and I work for the industry, so I figured that might be an interesting fact to share with people that might be watching. And I'm going to pop over to our website and maybe share that really quick, just so I can show people where they can quickly find the signature series rosés. And I don't know, while I'm looking for that, if you'd like to talk a little bit about a little bit about that project and the process that you guys have to go through in order to be able to have your wine listed as one of those signature series wines.
Yeah, so like I said, rosé it's a pink wine that's made from red grapes, but really in terms of white wine or red wine, we think of it more like a white wine. It's very fresh, very aromatic. We're thinking about citrus fruit flavors, red raspberry, cherries, things like that. So it's really more light fruit flavors and aroma and bright acidity, which is what makes those wines so refreshing. And you mentioned, you thought rosés were just a summertime thing, which rosé is certainly great in the summertime. It's hard to beat a ice cold glass of rosé when it's hot outside, but because it's such a versatile food wine, it goes good with meals year round. I really like rosé and chili here when it gets cold outside. Um, that's a great pairing. Like I said, Thanksgiving foods, it could certainly go for other holiday foods as well. And so part of what we do, I don't even know how many rosés that is. That's a bunch of them. But in order to be considered part of the Illinois Signature Rosé project, your wines have to meet certain parameters. So there's um, sort of an evaluation that'll happen to them, and they're looking at sweetness level, acidity level. Certainly, we don't want any wines that have major flaws with them. We're looking at the color of the wine has to fall within a certain parameter, and it has to be a recent wine. Rosé, well, it's great to drink all year round, like I'm saying. It's also a wine that's meant to be drunk young. So, a lot of people say, that just all wine gets better with age, and it's not necessarily true with rosé because those bright, fresh fruit flavors and aromas that are so good in a rosé tend to kind of fade away over time. So, typically, we're talking about between 1 and 2 years of vintage is when we're going to be consuming rosé, and that's what this project looks at too.
Right. And I've got on the screen, I've pulled up, it's illinoiswine.com/rosé. And that's where you can find the list of our current signature series rosé wines. And your wine, your Kite Hill Vineyards Flyaway Rosé is one of those wines in the vintage. And I just happen to have this cold. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to pour myself a glass and maybe sip on this while we talk a little bit more about.
I just so happen to have one here myself too, so I'll join you. How about that?
Well, there you go. So yes, this does have a very lovely color. I'm trying to see if I can show that to people. It is just really beautiful, really beautiful. So cheers.
Cheers. Yes, this wine's all about bright summer fruits, citrus. I get a lot of grapefruit character from it, which tends to go better with lighter foods. I could see this going good with most of the stuff that would be on your plate for Thanksgiving, like turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and corn. So it's definitely a winner for Thanksgiving.
Well, yes, and I just want to show people how quick and easy it is on our website. So I'm on the rosé page, and all of these listings here are a link right to the particular wines. And most of the wines are available for purchase online. Some of them are not, but you can certainly get that information right there from our website. So, and I'll go back and just so people can see what our homepage looks like. It's illinoiswine.com. We also have a really cool feature, a map on the website where people, if you click on visit a winery, it's going to pull up a locator map, and you can plug in where you're at and look for a different radius of mileage, and it will pull up wines near you. So like if we were going to head down in your neck of the woods, we might look for Carbondale and look for wines that are maybe within a 50-mile radius, and just do a quick search, and it will show us where everybody is. And this works on your mobile phone really nice. I have it saved to my home screen, so I've tricked the website into acting like an app. And it works really well for me when I'm traveling. And then all of these links over here are links to our members where you can get their address and directions, phone numbers, and all that good kind of stuff. So anyway, this is really lovely, Pat. It's a really nice wine. It's too bad I'm in here all by myself, needing to sip on this all by myself. Not really.
Yeah, so I'm glad you showed this map too, because it's amazing to me. There's I think we say 165. Is that right, Lisa? 165 wineries in the state of Illinois now. So no matter where you are in the state, there's probably a winery that's somewhat nearby you. A lot of people aren't aware of that, just how many wineries there are. So it's good to know, and it's kind of it's amazing to look at the map when you see all the little dots on the map and how many there actually are.
Right. And, and one thing that I'm hoping we might be able to do, right, we need to find ways to take advantage of our COVID captivity, so to speak, is to do a little bit of education because the California folks have done a really great job of marketing over the decades. And, when we think of a red, we think we need a Merlot. And, if we think of a white, then we need a Chardonnay. And those aren't grapes that we grow here. But we do have comparable wines that just have different names. Like, for example, I just pulled some bottles. I thought we could maybe talk a little bit. The Norton Grape is a grape that is produced in great abundance here in the state of Illinois, and I'm holding a 2016 Norton from Starvey Vineyards, which is down in your neck of the woods. And you could drink this at Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, I could see that going really well with smoked turkey. A lot of people I know like to put the bird on the smoker, and Norton would be a perfect thing for that.
Right, and that's a nice dry red, correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. Let's see. I was asking you, we're just going to play ask the winemaker questions. I pulled this out of my wine vault. Can you talk to me a little bit about this? This is the Aeronaut, and this is a wine that you make there at Kite Hill.
Yeah, the air.
But it's a blend, right?
It is a blend, so it's a red wine, but it does have a little bit of white wine blended into it. So it's mostly Chambourcin with a little bit of Vidal Blanc and then some Terral de Go Rosé blended into it. And the purpose of that is to give the wine a little bit lighter body and a little bit more floral forward aroma to it. So it lightens the wine up a little bit. It makes it really approachable and really food friendly. Again, that's one thing that we go for quite a bit, is having just really approachable, food friendly wines all across the board for the wines that we produce.
Well, I like that. And so when you're sipping on the Aeronaut, what is something that you might pair with that?
Yeah, so it has a lot of sort of deep berry aromas and flavors. It goes really well with all sorts of red meats. It can go with like a chickpea salad. I've done it with. I've done it with dishes with beets in them, things like that. So there's a lot of options.
Well, good, good. Did you have some wines you wanted to talk about there at your disposal?
Sure. I got rosé heavy here because, like I said, I am a big fan of rosés, and I like to drink them year round. Another good one here I have is Starview Dry Rosé. So this is from Starview Vineyards down here in Cobden, Illinois. And again, just a really, really food-friendly wine. It's a little bit different than ours. That's something that we haven't really touched on. You know, here in Southern Illinois, we have quite a few wineries right near each other, and a lot of us actually use Chambourcin to make rosé. That's one of the main red grape varieties down here. But even with all our wineries and all our vineyards fairly close to each other, each vineyard site has, its nuances and little bits of change, from one site to the other that makes these wines unique. So while Starvey Rosé is similar to Kite Hill Rosé that we just tried, it's unique in its own way. So it's really exciting to come and try, multiple rosés side by side. So that's why I like to have a few open for something when you have a lot of people that are there to try it, like an event like Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we had a couple of events planned for the early part of the year that were canceled because of our current situation, and so we pivoted and we did a couple of virtual tastings, and we used the rosé that we had purchased for those events, and we did a virtual tasting for tourism professionals and journalists, and they were really impressed. And I think one other thing I'd like to mention about our signature series wines is that we've encouraged all of you to enter your wines in competitions beyond Illinois, and you guys have all done very, very well with that. And in fact, I think we had so many winners in the Experience Rosé competition that first year. You guys were encouraged. It was like people were like, "What's going on in Illinois?" So,
Yeah, I think we surprised them out there in California with how well our Illinois rosés showed in that competition. That was really fun to see.
yeah, I wish I would have been around for that. That predated me a little bit, but I am one that thought that rosés were all sweet. And of course, I've been schooled, and that's not the case. And there's nothing wrong if you're out there and you're listening to he and I talk. Um, uh, if you like a sweet wine, that's okay. You know, you don't need to be, and whatever you like is what you should drink. But I started out drinking wine and was mostly on the sweet side of things, and but I did explore and I did try new things, and you know now my palate is completely more acclimated to drinking something dry. But if you like it, then you should drink it. That's at least that's my Lisa logic for the day. Um, Let me throw another one at you.
Sure.
Because we think with turkey that we have to have a white, right? Or at least that's what's been drilled into my head. And I know, you know, we're not going to get an Illinois grown Chardonnay, but I'm wondering if the Chardonnell grape, and I do have an example here in my office from 12 Oaks Vineyard, would that be a good substitute, do you think, for people who like Chardonnay but want to support local small businesses like yours?
Absolutely, yeah. Chardonnay, or rather Chardonnel, is a result of a cross between Chardonnay and a variety called Sauvignon Blanc. So it shares a lot of similarities with Chardonnay. Usually, it's fermented in a dry style that is, you know, similar to a Chardonnay. A lot of fruit forward apple pear type aromas, and actually Chardonnel produced in Illinois. I can't wait till we start, you know, having more wineries entry that particular type of wine into competitions, because I think we're going to give some Chardonnays a run for their money. I think that we're producing white Chardonnel wines that are, you know, on par with the best white wines in the world. It's really a fun grape variety. But as far as Thanksgiving, yeah, it would go with just about everything again. Chardonnel is a variety too that in certain years you can get a late harvest version, which is going to be a sweet dessert wine. And you know, so it's a versatile grape that can produce very good dry wines that are very approachable, very, you know, much of a fan favorite wine, and but also in certain years even produce dessert wines. So it's a fun grape variety to use.
Well, you know, I'm located in the Springfield Market, and west of Wise Winery in Petersburg is close by me, and I really like their weather vane white. I found myself drinking a lot of that this summer, which is why I have some in my office. So I wanted to give them a little plug too. Again, you can find, you know, these wines at all of the wineries, or some version of something like this all over the state, and I think that. You know, I'm excited about this opportunity now to be talking about what we have to offer here, especially as we're getting into the winter months and we're looking at further restrictions. I mean, we've had a nice little run of being able to be out a little bit more, and I think it's time to regroup and remember that winter is tough and it's going to be tougher this year. So if people are looking for a wine to drink at home, it's really important to support your local winery whenever you can, because you're creating jobs and you're purchasing supplies and paying real estate taxes and all of those things that are important for our local economy. So I'm just really excited to be able to talk about all this. One other thing that I pulled out of my magic closet, you know, people that might not drink as much wine as you or I, or be around it all day long like we are. talk to me about these little bottles that you find. I'm holding a Pomona winery strawberry dessert wine, and then also a Galena Cellars. This is a raspberry wine infused with brandy spirits. But why are they in smaller bottles, Scott? That might be an interesting Thanksgiving fact.
So typically those are going to be dessert wines, or I think in the case of those wines, they're fortified wines, which means they have spirits added to them. So they're higher in alcohol, and generally you're going to drink a smaller amount of them at a time. So since they're higher in alcohol, they're sold in a smaller bottle. So you're still getting, a relatively reasonable amount in a bottle. So, you're not encouraged to drink the whole thing, I guess. But in general, you're drinking smaller amounts. So it's just, you can have a little, 1 ounce pour with dessert is kind of the idea. Or you can just have one of those wines as dessert sometimes. I know that Pomona strawberry wine works that way quite well. I do that all the time.
Do you? Yeah. And here I was just saying, I thought these were just individual serving bottles. I guess my bad. If you're not driving, I guess you could do that. But so like this might be nice to pair. What were we talking about pairing with um, a pecan pie? You and I were talking about that earlier. Oh, a dry red with a pecan, right? With pecan pie.
We might have been talking about, yeah, that Norton. I could see that going well with, but even, a dry red Chamberson. I know in the northern part of the state, they produce a lot of Frontenac. That kind of thing might be okay with a dessert as well. So,
Oh, I think I remember now in our pre-show conversation. I have a
oh, that's
bottle
what it was.
Prairie State Wineries. This is not an Illinois grape because it's a Zinfandel, but it's called Booyah, and it's a bourbon barrel aged red wine. And you suggested that this might pair really well with a slice of pecan pie, which is also one of my favorites. So I'm going to have to try that sometime. So we've talked about a lot of things. We've been at this for 22 minutes now. So um, do you have any final comments or thoughts about Thanksgiving holiday wine? Anything you'd like to share with people who might be interested in tuning in?
Well, just as people plan their holiday gatherings, whether it's going to be, small gatherings in person or kind of like we're meeting tonight, I think that wine is a great way to bring folks together, whether they're together or not. Like you said, you don't need to be there for your mom's mashed potatoes necessarily, but because you might not be able to repeat it at home. But if you can't be there in person, sharing the same bottle of wine over a meeting like this, I think is a great way to do that. So while you're planning your holidays, think of Illinois wine. I think that's the perfect accompaniment to what we're going to be going through here in the next few weeks and a few months. So.
Yeah, and before we sign off, I don't know if you have noticed, but we are conducting a raffle. So this might be something, a nice thing to give as a stocking stuffer, maybe at Christmas. But we're giving away 200 bottles of Illinois wine from winemakers like Scott and his colleagues around the state. The tickets are $50. We'll be selling these through the end of May, and we will announce the winners on National Wine Day in 2021. But Illinois Grape Growers is a nonprofit organization, and this is one activity that we decided to use to try to replace some of our lost revenue because we haven't been able to do the festivals like we normally do. So again, people can find information on that at illinoiswine.com and /raffle. But this has been fun. I don't think we've done too bad for our first run at talking turkey and Illinois wine with people. What do you think?
Well, I've had a good time. Hopefully, we didn't bore anybody too much, but I think I'm looking forward to seeing what else we can come up with in the future too. So this has been a lot of fun. Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, it has, and it's good to see you. And thanks for being a good sport. And for those of you that are still with us and are watching, we'll try to get a little better. There's just so much to talk about with Illinois wine that it's pretty easy to get carried away. So again, thanks for talking turkey with Illinois wine. And thanks to you, Scott, from Kite Hill Vineyards. Go visit him if you're in Southern Illinois. And if you're not and you want to find a winery near you, check out our Visit a Winery map at illinoiswine.com. Until next time, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.